So one, when I think about like Bitcoin investors, I think of a couple different groups. I think of hedge funds doing complex macro trades. I think of long-term investors that are buying and hodling, whether they're individuals or institutions. But then there's like this attention economy. And these are people who are chasing after the hottest thing. And it used to be crypto, and that's a big market. And now it's gold and AI, and we've sort of lost that attention economy. So I think that that's been a big factor. And then I do think, even though there is a really good explanation for why gold went up and Bitcoin went down, like a really simple explanation, the fact that that happened created a narrative break in people's minds. So, like when I go out and I meet with institutional investors, they start to ask me, why is Bitcoin down when gold is up? I thought it was digital gold. And even though you can explain it, it takes time, it slows down purchases, it slows down the process. So I think there's this narrative disconnect, which is going to make the bottom of this bear market more extended as people have to wrestle with why that happened.
Yeah, and also it's super important to like understand the dynamics that a lot of asset managers are going to pull through, because for a while gold has been the most favorable trade to jump into. It has been substantially undervalued, and perhaps Bitcoin has been a bit overvalued, whatever value you would give it. But those dynamics are now turning the other way around, because if you are in gold and if you're building a portfolio for high net worth individuals or like big family offices or so, I think all the ratios for gold are going to be less favorable going forward, and the ones for Bitcoin are actually more favorable.
Totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll see that money swash back. The other thing that's just intuitively obvious is that as the gold market gets bigger, the TAM that Bitcoin is going after is also bigger. It's a sign that there's more demand for store of value. To make that concrete, yeah, I remember when the gold ETF launched in 2004. I was in the ETF space. The whole gold market then was $2.5 trillion, right? So Bitcoin is what, one and a half ish right now. The whole gold market when the gold ETF launched was 2.5 trillion. Imagine if Bitcoin were saying it's digital gold and its addressable market was 2.5 trillion. We wouldn't be very bullish, right? We would say it already has like 60% of the market. Like the fact that we're now at 30 plus $1 trillion gold is hugely positive for making the long-term case for Bitcoin. It shows that the store of value market is probably going to be 50 or $100 trillion pretty soon, and Bitcoin will take its share of that. So I think that that's positive long term, and I agree on a short term basis. Look, these trends will come back together. Bitcoin's more attractive right now than gold from an upside perspective.
Why are you saying that? It's funny because I'm using the Bitcoin versus gold chart as kind of my framework when it comes to those two assets, because they are the two biggest players in that particular store of value, vertical, whatever you would call it. And if you look at that chart, then it's resonating with your thesis, which is we peaked in December 2024.
Yeah.
And the current valuation is the lowest in terms of RSI we've ever seen. It's
That's
also
right.
one of the charts that Bitwise is sharing on social media.
Yep.
Why are you thinking that despite the 4-year cycle saying we peaked at 125K, we actually peaked in December 2024?
Yeah, it's that there are two crypto markets right now. There's the institutional market, which is starting from zero and building an allocation, and then there's the rest of the crypto market. The 4-year cycle is known by the rest of the crypto market. And if you look at the data, what you'll see is starting, basically at the start of 2025, in December 2024, ETFs, which were institutional investors, were buying a lot of Bitcoin. But retail investors were selling a lot of Bitcoin. Like long-term holders were selling a lot of Bitcoin. They actually sold more Bitcoin. So they had already turned over. And the way you really know this is if you look at crypto assets that didn't have ETFs. So they didn't have institutional investors. They were just traditional retail. And that's everything but Bitcoin and ETH. They were down like 70% in 2025, right? Avalanche, Sui, Aptos, all the alt ones that didn't have any institutional purchases entered crypto winter January 1st, 2025, and sold off relentlessly, just straight painfully down. The same thing was happening in Bitcoin for retail holders, for traditional crypto holders. We just didn't notice it because institutions were piling money into the ETF. So my view is that like the traditional holders of crypto are already at the bottom. As you said, RSI, the most oversold ever. Crypto fear and greed, the lowest readings ever. They're already starting to come out of that crypto winter. And so I really don't think it was October. I think the data would suggest it started like January 1st, or maybe when Trump took office or whatever, right around that period. It was just relentlessly down for everything but ETFs. And so, yeah, I think we're closer to the end of the winter than many people think.